What is up, everybody? I hope you've all had a great weekend. This is Joseph again with another daily spoilers video for Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth here on the MTG Thoughtcast channel. Before we get into it, if you guys haven't yet, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us a ton for free with the channel. So if you like any of this content and you want to keep seeing it, give us a subscribe and jump in the comments. Also, our Discord link is in the description for this video. If you want to jump in and join in on the discussion on our Discord, we'd love to have you there. Today we have some spidery cards, so if you're afraid of spiders, look away now, but we're going to get into it. The first card we're going to talk about is Shelob, Child of Ungoliant. Man, these names are just getting me. So it's 4 black and a green for a legendary creature, Spider Demon, that is an 8/8 with Death Touch and Ward 2. It says other spiders you control have Death Touch and Ward 2. The real cool part here is whenever another creature dealt damage this turn by a spider you control dies, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a food artifact with pay 2, tap, sacrifice this artifact, you gain 3 life, and it loses all other card types. This is so freaking cool. This is of all of the cards in the set that have been spoiled so far, this is the one that gets me the most excited about building a deck around it. Spiders has always been such a cool creature type in the game. So to have something like this, let's break it down like a little bit at a time. 6 mana for an 8/8 with Death Touch and Ward 2. If you don't know what Ward does, it basically counters spells that target it if they don't pay the Ward cost as well. So in this case, if you're targeting it with something like a Doomblade or a single target kill spell, they would have to pay an additional 2. A lot of times, Ward 2, 3, 4, whatever, basically reads as hexproof. So the fact that it has that and also gives every other spider you control Ward 2 and Death Touch, ridiculous already. Again, for 6 mana, there's no downsides on this card. So, the second ability, whenever another creature dealt damage this turn by a spider you control dies. So what are we trying to do here with that? We're trying to play, cards like Rabid Bite that deal damage from a creature to another one, or even fight spells like Prey Upon or anything like that. What this will do is, because your spiders will have Death Touch, you deal the damage, it'll kill that creature, then you get, that creature comes back under your control as a food token. There's a lot of other little interesting tidbits in here, like the fact that the creature that dies doesn't get exiled. So if you're killing it with one of your spiders, it'll go to the graveyard. You, in addition to that, make a food token copy of it. Ridiculous flavor. I think this is unbelievably powerful as well. Some things I'm excited to play with it. Ishkana, the Graph Widow from Shadows over Innistrad, up until now was the best green-black spider commander. We've got, target opponent loses a life for each spider you control. This is just a very exciting, very cool deck. It's making spiders for you to throw at different creatures. They'll all have Ward 2 and Death Touch. So if you block with something, you kill their creature, you get it. You're looking to single target, get rid of stuff that has good enter the battlefield effects or good static effects. Because as you make that food token, when it comes into the battlefield, it would give you all of those triggers again. And then if you kill something that has static effects, you would permanently have that. And because they lose all of their creature types, they lose all of their card types, it sits there, anything that says like Wrath of God or any effects like that that destroys all creatures, you keep all of your food tokens with that. So you would have to be hit with artifact removal to get rid of the tokens that Shelob is making. Not to mention the fact that it's an 8/8. Like, this is a huge creature. This is so strong. So Ishkana's really cool with this. Spider spawning, an absolute classic. It's just a sorcery that makes a 1/2 green spider for each creature in your graveyard and has flashback. So when you cast both halves of this spell, you're going to get 2 1/2 green spiders for each creature in your graveyard. So I think there's maybe a self-mill theme in this, which green and black likes doing anyway. There's probably a lot of bringing stuff back from the graveyard. Another cool thing that you can do is with cards like Malakir Rebirth, which is an instant. Choose target creature, you lose 2 life. Until the end of turn, that creature gains. When this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So you're going to be, if you want to copy one of your creatures, you could Malachor Rebirth it, then Rabid Bite from one of your spiders onto your own creature, which would kill it. It would trigger for Shelob, where you would get the token, you get the food token of it, and it would come back under your control. So there's some sneaky ways to like double up on your own creatures with this. It also, if they lose other creature types, they'll lose legendary abilities. So if you do that with an Ishkana, as you get the token, the food token back, it's a non-legendary copy of this that enters the battlefield, and the target opponent loses a life for each spider. There's some real weird doubling of your spiders that you could do with a deck like this, but I am unbelievably excited about Shelob. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. The next card we're going to talk about is Arwen, Mortal Queen. She is 1 green and a white for a legendary creature Elf Noble. It's a 2/2. When Arwen enters the battlefield with, she enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter on it. You can pay 1, remove an indestructible counter from her. Another target creature gains indestructible until end of turn. Put a +1/+1 counter and a lifelink counter on that creature and on her. So this is, you're going to be doing some sacrificing, some weird combat stuff with this. I think this is gonna be really strong with cards like the Ozolith, or with Safi Eriksdottir specifically, where she brings a creature back to the battlefield. So you're gonna be able to put an indestructible counter, give it lifelink, block with something, bring back Arwen. It's gonna be very strong. There's gonna be a lot of creatures re-entering the battlefield. So again, just they're printing a lot of support for things entering the battlefield in this set, which is very exciting. But she seems really great. Also with Argonath, Pillars of the King, which is a convenient reprint of the Ozolith that they're putting in this set. So this is just a cool way to keep your counters on creatures. I'm not sure if I'm super excited about Arwen, but at the end of the day, it's cool, and it might be for somebody. Let's talk about Entish Restoration. It's 2 and a green for an instant. Sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, instead search your library for up to 3 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So what this is this is a strictly better version of Harrow, which is a card that's seen plenty of play, which just does the first half of that, where you sacrifice a basic land, get 2 basic lands onto the battlefield tapped. This gives you the upside of, if you control a creature with power 4, you get a 3rd one instead. So this can turn 1 basic land into 3 on the battlefield. So be looking out for this one. We've got Fiery Inscription, just 2 and a green, sticking with our theme of better cards. It's an enchantment that enters the battlefield. The ring tempts you, so you just get some value for it entering the battlefield. But it says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Fiery Inscription deals 2 damage to each opponent. So again, this is Gutter Snipe. Like, this is the exact cost and the exact text of Gutter Snipe on an enchantment that has additional enters the battlefield effects. So this is, if you're playing any deck that cares about Gutter Snipe, if you're playing Spellslinger stuff, mono red, red blue, whatever it is that you're already playing Gutter Snipe in, this is either for you a better version of it, or number 2. Like, if you want one of these effects, you probably want both of them. So this is going to be played quite a bit. Look out for this one. Flowering of the White Tree is white for a legendary enchantment that says legendary creatures you control get +2/+1 and have ward 1, and then non-legendary creatures you control get +1/+1. So this is on rate the cheapest Anthem effect that they've ever printed, just across the board for your non-legendaries. And then giving your legendary creatures +2/+1 and ward 1 is ridiculous for 2 mana. So if you're playing stuff like Thalia, like, this is going to be ridiculous. Giving a +2/+1 for 2 mana it's strong. Let's move on. All right. Palantir of Orthanc is a 3 mana legendary artifact that at the beginning of your end step, you put an influence counter on Palantir and scry 2. Then target opponent may have you draw a card. If that player doesn't, you mill X cards, where X is the number of influence counters on Palantir, and that player loses life equal to the total mana value of those cards. This is crazy. It is essentially a personal Howling Mine. So you're going to be scrying 2 at the end, at every end step. For the most part, if you're playing this deck, if you're playing this card in a deck that has high mana value stuff, everyone's just going to let you draw a card. So if 3 mana in an artifact that lets you draw a card every turn after you've scryed 2 is crazy strong. If they don't, as the turns build up, you're going to be milling 2, 3, 4 cards and dealing that much damage to the player that let you mill those. So it kind of turns into a combustible gear Hulk every turn. This has a lot of utility. This has a lot of cool stuff going on with it for 3 mana. Very exciting. It's also a mythic, so it makes sense. They understand how powerful this is. But I'm excited to be pondering the orb. Radagast the Brown is 2 green for a legendary creature avatar wizard. It's a 2/5. When it or another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the mana value of that creature. You get to reveal a creature card that doesn't share a creature type with it and put it into your hand. So the X is only caring about the mana value of the thing that's coming in. So the first time that you play Radagast, it's going to come in. You're going to look at the top 4 cards, and you're going to find a creature that's not an avatar or a wizard. Just put it into your hand. This plays a decent Beast Whisperer ability. If you're playing any of the Volos commanders that care about having a bunch of different creature types, this is just going to draw you a card that you've picked off of each creature that comes into play. So this is going to be I don't know if this is going to be a great commander because it's just a 2/5. It just draws cards, but this is going to be really good in the decks that want it. Rise of the Witch King is really exciting. It's 2 black and a green for a sorcery. Each player sacrifices a creature. If you sacrificed a creature this way, you may return another permanent from your graveyard to the battlefield. So what this does is if you're playing Satyr Wayfinders or Stitcher's Suppliers that are putting cards into the graveyard, you could, on turn 4, play this. Everybody has to sacrifice a creature, and then, oops, here's Portal to Phyrexia that comes back from your graveyard, makes everyone sacrifice 3 again. It's a huge build around, but I think that it's really strong. The fact that it only costs 4, and it just on rate makes everybody sacrifice a creature to begin with. Like, we've seen plenty of those effects at 3 mana on a creature that if you're going to be sacrificing your creature because you want to. Like, the deck that's going to play this has creatures that want to be in the graveyard, has creatures that want to die, that are filling the graveyard, stuff like that. This is just going to become, everybody sacrifices a creature and I reanimate something for 4 mana. This is going to be annoying to play against. It's very, very strong. I'm not looking forward to playing against this. Moving on to Shadowfax, Lord of Horses. It's 3 red and a white for a legendary creature horse. It says horses you control have haste. Whenever Shadowfax attacks, you may put a creature card with lesser power from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. So these horses gonna ride. The fact that they have haste, this sort of sneak attacks or does like an Ilharg the Raiseboar effect on it. On an uncommon, this is just really cool. I don't know if it's particularly good because it only has 4 power. So you're really limited in what cards you're going to be able to sneak into play with it. But I mean, I want to play Shadowfax Lord of Horses. It's going to be fun. The last card we're going to talk about today is Stern Scoldings. This is just a counterspell that I'm very excited about. It's a blue mana at instant speed for a counter target creature spell with power or toughness 2 less. This gets way more things than you would think that it does. I would almost consider running this over something like Essence Scatter that just counters a creature spell. I think if you sit in a game and think, if I had Stern Scolding, would this counter that creature? A lot of the time, it just would. Obviously, if somebody in your pod is playing a big creatures deck, this isn't going to get a ton of that. But this counters Satoru Umezawa. This gets rid of a lot of people's enabler creatures, which if you do that, there's less chance of them getting the big stuff out. So for a blue deck, having a 1 mana counter most creatures that matter early game, unbelievably strong. So So this was a good weekend of cards being spoiled. They're really starting to show us what is in this set and why it cost extra money. Because other than a few of the commons that have come out, like there hasn't been a ton of junk that they've printed in this. I think they're really leaning into the IP being the strongest thing. Like Lord of the Rings is going to sell a ton of these sets. There's going to be plenty of this out there. The cards shouldn't be too expensive from it. So I'm excited to get building with these. Let me know in the comments below if I missed anything. If you guys want to see more of these, give us a subscribe and jump in on our Discord. And we will see you tomorrow.